Alright, I am back with a Diablo 4 video here to give some more thoughts on actual Season 4, now that I've been playing it for 2.5, 3 days. I am on my horse screen because I just got the rarest drop I have ever gotten in this game. Not an uber unique, but the horse armor from one of the world bosses. I've never gotten any armor from any of them before, so this literally just dropped 10 seconds ago, which I'm very excited about. See how many ways you can be excited about cosmetics, Blizzard? Yep, okay. Anyway, since that hasn't changed, we will just talk about the season itself. I did have some gameplay footage, and I'll go fight things in a little bit, but I wanted to just sort of talk my way through how the season's been going. Obviously, there have been a lot of positive changes here. I wrote an article today about the Codex of Power, how instead of needing to save things, you can just extract your best version, and then eventually you'll get a maxed one, so then you can just end up applying this to any piece of gear. So you don't have to have like a vault full of stuff that you're saving just because you think, you know, you're going to need that aspect if you have to change builds or if you have to cycle through multiple pieces of gear, and then you try to save the max ones for something that's really good. Like, that eliminates that whole system and frees up a lot of your vault space. So this is easily one of the best additions I've seen, and it's kind of an interesting chase to hunt all these down, max them out. I think that this will reset. I know the recipes do. I think the aspects will reset. I'm not 100% sure. I also don't know. Okay, apparently I'm missing a lot of these. Oh, these are mostly for not classes I don't have. Recipes are interesting. Tempering is interesting. I have not fully tempered all my stuff yet. This allows you, so things drop with not that many affixes on them. Legendaries have 3, so this lets you add 2 more. And depending on your thing, you can pick from these different categories, where if you pick this, it will do one of these 4 things. Pick this, it'll do one of these 3. And then in the other category, utility, that's more like, better crowd control duration, more longer stuns, lucky hit stuff. And then obviously something like weapons have way more possibilities. There's, all of these different augments here for weapons. I think jewelry has the most overall. I could be wrong about that. I don't know. But there's a good amount to choose from is the point. And so you can add what you think will be most relevant to you. I have a Dust Devil base build here, and so I added Dust Devil damage, and I added damage to close enemies on this, and that has made this extremely strong. This isn't quite a 925 max item, but it's close. And then after that, there's a masterworking process. This is something I just unlocked recently, where you throw this in here, and you use this material from the pit, a new activity, to upgrade it through a couple of tiers, and it increases affixes by 5%, so by the end you're going to get some pretty heftily increased affix rolls, and all of these are kind of meant to both put a long-term chase in a thing, but also make it less frustrating to farm. What I've found so far is that the power swings here are wild to the point of almost absurdity. For a while, I was sort of plodding along, and I got to World Tier 4, I was still underpowered, and you go to the Helltide, and it's okay, well, it's a little challenging, and then there's this new boss that just sort of wrecks you with these fire bombs and things like that, and entire teams that I was playing with early on were struggling with that. But then you start getting tempering drops, or you can temper things, you get decent drops. And now at my level, at 78, and farming stuff that is now over, enemy level 100, every drop I'm getting is 925, the max here. So it used to just be, these were really, really rare. They would only come maybe from world bosses. But now, once you hit a certain level, once you can start farming certain level content, the drops you're getting in Nightmare Dungeons and things like that are going to be 925 power. So again, you are kind of saving a lot more gear than you used to try and find, the absolute perfect roll here. But it's also a lot easier to find the perfect roll because they've removed so many different affixes from these that there's really not that much of a difference between many of them. So all of these barbarian weapons have max life on them, and then strength, and then some rotation of vulnerable damage, critical damage, blah blah blah. So it's a lot easier to find what you're looking for, and that has resulted in just an insane amount of power extremely quickly, which is good, but like it happens almost so fast that like, oh wait, let me so Hell Tides, as I'm going to demonstrate, are like a little too easy now. So I'm going to pop this thing that makes all the enemies 10 power above me. Did that work? But like, again, these are not, they're still just 91 enemies. They're, I can't do math, 13, 13 levels above me. But like, I don't have a way to make Hell Tides hard now. It's just, I'm a little tiny bit squishy on this. Like, I'm really focused on offense, but like, I'm routinely, I'm still trying to push into the highest Nightmare dungeons I can, which is like over 50 something now. I think enemies are like 110 or something, and I just don't really. So the Helltides are sort of the main activities this season, where instead of doing a brand new activity, they just sort of took all of the old stuff that people liked about the other kind of populated zones in the past seasons and sort of jammed it in here. There are a good amount of like new things in here that are worth farming, at least initially. That one world boss gives some decent stuff, a lot of legendaries. This is probably the best place to try to farm like maxed affixes, because you just get so many legendary drops. You get a lot more than in Nightmare dungeons. For my build, I don't like my setup doesn't need uniques. Like the Twister Barb is not based on any specific uniques, so I don't really need to farm any of those Uber bosses. Like there's obviously the Uber unique chase that is fine, and like either you can do that or not. But like again, when everything resets every season, I don't know if I need to necessarily care about things with such low drop rates. This is sort of my own personal issue with the season, but I'm just very fast. I have gone from like, okay, leveling, getting powerful, cool, to like now I'm just like, I'm totally zoned out here. Like nothing is lasting more than 2 seconds here, because I cannot take Hell Tides, the main activity of the season, any higher than this. Conversely, there is another new activity called the Pit. I just unlocked this like an hour ago, and it is very apparent to me that these are greater rifts. Like that's pretty much exactly what they are. I don't know how else to put it. So I unlocked tier 7. We'll see if this goes well. Like maybe I'm about to get owned and look like an idiot, but I guess we'll find out. Obviously, like I'm not leveling super fast. I know people hit like 100 on day 1, but I'm still getting there. I'm not doing like optimal XP farms or anything. I'm just sort of playing the game. But to me, it strikes me as sort of weird. All right, these are 106. Yeah, should be okay. Sometimes if like some explosion or something, yeah, or like a freeze thing hits me, then I'll just insta die, but it doesn't happen too often. And you can die in here, and it's sort of just a time penalty. It's not like you have to start over or something. Yeah, so this is just, you can see the timer. This is something we're kind of well used to at this point. You have to kill these guys before the time runs out. It's sort of a DPS mob clearing check, as it were. I could get some better resistances on this build, but in terms of like damage output, I'm doing just fine on that. And it's a little hard to like. You'll see the boss at the end of this. Like the bosses in these are a joke. Like the mobs are harder than the bosses, given that they can just like swarm you and like blow you up with like one giant poison nova or something like that. I could invest in a little more armor. I don't have all my sockets ready, because the thing to put sockets in gear is like one of the rarest materials in the game. So the idea here is that you're chasing the masterwork grind, and that's sort of slow, constant power progression. But I know from the higher level players, when you get to the top of that, the costs just become like absurdly prohibitive, to the point where like no one's having fun. I think it's like 100 million gold to fully masterwork something, which is not easy to come by, certainly. And it's also like, I think some of the materials can only be found in like whisper caches, which are not very fun to farm in the least. So like there are some complaints about the higher levels of this, even from the players this was sort of designed for. Uh, and it's an interesting season because it's stuff you've done before, but like somewhat modified. It does feel weird to just be running kind of straight up Diablo 3 rifts again. I know Andariel is here as a new boss. I've not even looked up how to summon her yet, but again, I'm not farming for any specific uniques here really. And now, I was just saying like, oh, it's loot is better than it used to be because you're not like just drowning in loot all the time. That it's a lot easier to like look for the higher numbers, blah blah blah. But now with everything being 925, I do sort of have to look at everything. But given that so many things have such similar values, it all kind of blends together. And now that I've hit this point where I don't even have to look at the drops because there's going to be, they're all going to be kind of relatively similar power level, and I just sort of have to pick one and run with it to masterwork it. Oh, I already popped my berserker, so this is going to take a little longer. Oh, no, never mind, he's dead. Okay. So, I'm granted I only started this, so I should probably be doing higher levels of this, but like you can sort of see what I mean here. This is the currency, the obstacle, I don't even know what it was, that you use to increase mastery levels on things, but again, that will get more and more and more expensive, so that's just sort of how it works. It's a good season in the sense that there are really positive changes with loot to make it more interesting than before and more customizable. But even after 3 days here, I'm sort of wondering like what is the point? And some of this comes back to my own Jesus, so many minions. My own hesitation with the seasonal model in general, where it does feel like everything is somewhat pointless because so little carries over. That's why I'm so big on cosmetics, because cosmetics are one thing that carries over. So, like at the very least, I'm going to, complete the battle pass here to get the armor set, because that's something that carries over. But is that done? What do I want? Yeah, reputation from Iron Wolves. I got to finish that too because there's some decent stuff at the end. But it's just, I don't know. I feel like a bit empty now that I've hit this spike, and now I'm just what's my goal now? Like tier 100 nightmare dungeons, like uber unique farming for something I don't super care about. It's just, I guess it works for Blizzard because like I was interested enough to pay at least $10 for the battle pass, which if you can get someone to pay $10 for the battle pass for an otherwise free season, you have already won. Like that is really baseline, all they care about. So bravo, they did that. But I think some of the initial hype for this is going to die down once people hit like a certain power threshold and sort of realize, with even a mildly competent build, like this is hardly min-maxed or anything, and I'm still just, I've over-leveled the main Helltide activity, at least by power, within 60 hours of the season launching. And like, this is 10, 12 hours of total play, maybe. It's not a ton. So I'm just wondering kind of what fall off is going to be like for this. This is not to say the other seasons were better. I had plenty of issues with those seasons, and I don't necessarily think more grinding and more frustration is better. It's just, this was so many changes all at once to like get rid of FX, to increase max level drops, like to masterwork stuff. Like it's all stuff that makes you incredibly strong, incredibly fast once you hit a certain level where it's just very easy to find really, really good drops. There is still min-maxing. The mastery grind is obviously very long, but too expensive for a lot of people's tastes. So it's not, in that sense, it's not just grinding out greater rifts and stuff. It's also, farming these currencies that are not exactly fun to farm. So yeah, I would say to give it a try. Obviously, it's free. I'm not telling you need to buy the battle pass. That's definitely not necessary. The free armor set in the battle pass is actually pretty good this time around. This is the free set. I like it. It's minimalistic, but not like totally shitty. So I appreciate that. We'll see. I'm wondering how this is going to be received past the initial hype of like, oh, the loot's so good now. It's like, it is very good now, but it might be good to the point where you're like, okay, well, this build is nuts, and I'm not sure, if I have a whole lot to do. You can do ladder stuff, I guess, if you're really competitive seasonal Diablo player, but I feel like that's going to be a pretty small part of the player base, and I don't think that's going to appeal to most people. So, if I'm still playing this, I guess my focus is mainly on mastery materials and then, maxing or finding the absolute perfect piece of 925 gear, but it doesn't feel like it's going to do that significantly much. I don't know. I guess I'll work on being a little less squishy, but yeah. So positive changes, definitely. It's just a little not what I expected in terms of just how big the swing is to get you so much power within like 2 days of launching. It's not just like you can level to 100 quickly. It's like, okay, well, I don't really even know what I'm supposed to be farming for, given every drop is a perfect item level now, and it's just there's not that many stats, and all of them are pretty useful. So it's strange. Anyway, let me know what you think of the season in the comments, and how your progression is going and power and stuff. So I'm very curious to hear other people's experience with this, because mine's been a little bit of a roller coaster. Anyway, thanks for watching, and I'll talk to you soon. Take care.